Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior and welcome to another Mortal Kombat video. Now today I'm very excited to bring you all some exclusive content to the channel, that being the second series of the Mortal Kombat X comic book run that didn't in fact come to fruition. Now as many of you do know, there was a comic book series that did come out alongside the MKX game. This served as a somewhat prequel and a way of bridging the events of Mortal Kombat 9 to Mortal Kombat X. So these comics are in fact canon, even if they aren't really mentioned or reference to too much in the game. So this comic series has been around for a while, and it did end with quite a shocking cliffhanger, that being where a armless Goro brought an unconscious Kenshi before Daegon in order to strike a deal with the Red Dragon leader as he wished to regain his arms by becoming a vessel for Onaga. So the Dragon King will definitely feature here. But instead of me actually telling the story, why not let the man himself do the job for me? Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Mortal Kombat X writer, Shawn Kittelsen.
Hey everyone, I'm Shawn Kittelsen, and if you're at this channel, you probably know my work best from Mortal Kombat X comic books, which I wrote for DC Comics back in the day, a couple of years ago. Or you might know me from my work as narrative lead and co-writer with NetherRealm's Dominic Cianciolo of Injustice 2 or Mortal Kombat 11, two games which I'm super duper proud to have my name on, that's for sure. As well as Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath. So if you enjoyed that, if you enjoyed any of those games or the comics, then you know my work a bit. And what am I doing here today? Well, when we did the MKX comic books, we thought we were going to have another volume, another series. But we only got an MKX Series 1. And we ended with a lot of cliffhangers and a lot of loose threads for fans wondering what would have happened in a Series 2. Some of these threads were actually dangled even further and teased in MK11, whether it's in Shiva's intros or her Towers of Time, or some other little bits here and there within gear names and fun stuff that I tucked away as little Easter eggs. But I'm not a staffer for NetherRealm. I've always written for them as a freelancer. I currently work as the narrative director at Skybound Games, overseeing all of the Walking Dead games and some other amazing and fun stuff that I can't talk about just yet. But I do not represent. My opinion is strictly my own. Everything that I say here is my headcanon. I do not represent NetherRealm Studios or WB Games, so anything here is apocryphal, and it's completely just spinning off the top of my head. I didn't even write most of this down. What you're going to hear today, primarily, is stuff dragged out of my memory after over 5 years of time has passed from some notes that I put together for a pitch meeting with DC Comics. But that said, I hope you enjoy it, because I did put a lot of thought into the pitch, and it's something that we didn't get to do, and that's okay. That ship has sailed. But now we can share it with you all, and I hope you enjoy it just for funsies, just for headcanon. If Chronica was supposed to teach us all anything, it's that everyone's headcanon is valid. If you have a version of a character, if you have a story that you love, you should know that that is real and authentic and canon within the MK universe. To me, that's one of the most important aspects of what MK11 was trying to introduce, was just this sense of respect and reverence for all the fans and all the joy that you get from this and all the energy and love that you pour into this. This is as much yours as it is anyone's. I am now a fan. Again, I'm not working on the games anymore. I'm not working on comics, so I get to enjoy whatever's up next for Mortal Kombat as a fan again, and that's really exciting. So I hope you all enjoy this as fans. It's strictly for funsies, and have fun. Thank you very much to History Behind the Warrior for having me here. If you've enjoyed this video, I hope you tick that bell, hit that like button, subscribe, do everything, support this channel, because when Dominic and I were working on Mortal Kombat 11, believe it or not, History Behind the Warrior was actually a really important resource for me, because I would write hundreds and hundreds of intro lines with one character against the roster, and then I'd have to go and write another hundreds of intro lines with another character against the whole roster, and sometimes you need a refresher, because there's a lot of history and a lot of lore, and we tried our best to appreciate that at every turn. Dominic and I both took a lot of pride, and I know the whole team at NetherRealm Studios took a lot of pride in the work that we've put into the comics and the games. So that said, here's the untold story of Mortal Kombat X comic books Series 2. When we last left Mortal Kombat X comics, a couple of things had been set in motion that would have played a major part in the second volume or second season of the comic books. The first of these was Sub-Zero's tournament. Now, in Mortal Kombat X Series 1, we end with Grandmaster Sub-Zero hosting a whole who's who of the world's deadliest young fighters, including Frost, to a tournament. And the grand prize at this tournament is an invitation to join the Lin Kuei and become Sub-Zero's new apprentice. So a major focus for MKX Series 2 would have been this tournament. The other thing that was set up at the end of the MKX Series 1 comics was Kenshi, beaten within inches of his life, being dragged before Daegon and the Red Dragon by an armless Goro. Now Goro, of course, lost his arms in a brutal battle with Kotal Khan. Goro believes that there is a tale of Onaga, a dragon who can grow back his limbs. And I actually have the comic right here. Goro meets Daegon, founder of the Red Dragon, and he tells him that he studied his lore and the Dragon King Onaga is of great interest to him. And Daegon says, yes, it was said if you cut off Onaga's hand, another grew in its place. You believe I can help you, but why would I? And of course, that's why Goro has Kenshi. Goro brought Kenshi Takahashi, a spy who betrayed the Red Dragon. It was, of course, Kenshi's betrayal of the Red Dragon that led them to attack and kill Takeda Kenshi's mother, setting into motion so many events for MKX. So there's a lot going on here. And how would these two stories have come together is basically the premise for MKX Comics Series 2. Much like the first series was really defined by the relationship between Hanzo Asashi, aka Scorpion, and Takeda Kenshi, the son of Kenshi, the second series would have been equally defined by this relationship between Frost and Grandmaster Sub-Zero. And I think if there's one thing that I wish that we had had more time to go into in MK11 and spend more time developing, it would have been Frost and Sub-Zero's relationship. I really wish we had more of an opportunity to dig deeper there. And I wish that the comics had that opportunity too, because I think Frost, with her background as someone who has to fight her way into the Lin Kuei, I thought that would actually set her up for a really cool arc, because if she fought her way into the Lin Kuei and then felt betrayed by Sub-Zero, what a journey for her that would ultimately be. She was kind of the inverse of Takeda. If Takeda joins the Shirai Ryu, not out of choice so much as his father just drops him on Scorpion's doorstep, Frost, on the other hand, she wants to fight for it. She's going to earn her way into the Lin Kuei. And that we know that later on she's going to become disappointed by Sub-Zero and of course totally betray him in MK11. This would have been sort of the honeymoon phase for Frost and Sub-Zero. And I don't mean that in a romantic sense. I mean in a totally platonic sense. They would have been getting to know each other, finding out Frost's capabilities, how she fought, what she stood for, and Sub-Zero teaching her the principles of the Lin Kuei as they were to him, not the way that they were probably perverted by the Bihans or the sectors of the history of the Lin Kuei. So as this tournament that we know that Raiden has kind of, through the end of the MKX Comics Series 1, Raiden has purposely drawn fighters to the Lin Kuei Snowy Mountain Temple, where they're all going to be isolated with Grandmaster Sub-Zero for this tournament. And of course, like, drama and intrigue amongst all of these fighters is inevitable. And Frost would have been our POV. She would have had a mysterious connection to Sub-Zero that we would have teased out over time, which would have been their Arctican heritage, and a familial relationship, but a distant one. Not so much a close, like, niece or sister or daughter, nothing like that. More like fifth cousins, but they of course share the same lineage, and that's one reason why they have these such similar powers. And Frost, is obviously destined to become Sub-Zero's apprentice, and we know that. But before she can earn the right to do that, she's a fiercely independent orphan. She has to learn to accept that sometimes she's going to have to rely on someone else to survive. She's been lost and alone and on her own for so many years. Cage fighting, death matches in MKX Comics Series 1, very beginning against Cassie Cage in a losing battle, because Frost really is so independent that it's her own weakness. She doesn't draw strength from the relationships that she has with anyone in her life, because she really hasn't had anyone in her life. And Sub-Zero will actually become kind of the first authority figure that she will in any way imprint or attach herself to. So the whole tournament is underway. Sub-Zero is leading it, administrating everything, and Frost is gradually fighting her way up the ladder and clashing here and there with Sub-Zero, but starting to learn some discipline. But the whole tournament gets turned upside down with the arrival of some new challengers in the form of Red Dragon clan members and Goro, who still has no arms. He has not been treated well by his own people, by the Shokan. They've cast him out, especially now that King Gorbak has died and there's been a power struggle. Of course, we know that Shiva emerged as the queen of the Shokan. Goro's not even pleased about that. He feels like he should be the rightful heir to Gorbak's throne. And so he's seeking glory and he's seeking power. And he's going to go back and claim revenge against all the Shokan who exiled him. But first, there's something that he needs to get at Sub-Zero's temple. There's something that Daegon wants at Sub-Zero's temple. And if you're wondering what that is, well, do you recall Reptile's ending from MK Deadly Alliance? The egg of the last great dragon and how it transformed Reptile into the Dragon King? Well, guess what Goro's trying to do in order to get his arms back. He's trying to find the egg of the last great dragon, or the Great Dragon Egg, if you prefer to call it that. And why is it here at the Lin Kuei temple, you might ask? It's being kept in cold storage for a purpose. Rather than be at a lava shrine or somewhere where it would be susceptible to hatching with whatever evil and magic would pour out from it, it's being kept in cold storage and safekeeping by Grandmaster Sub-Zero, as a long-standing tradition that the Lin Kuei have sworn to uphold in this timeline. Because it's not the same in every timeline, and in this particular timeline, that's something that Sub-Zero's been charged with in the history of MK. And so, Sub-Zero, of course, doesn't realize that this is what Goro's after, though he certainly locks down everything valuable as soon as he doesn't wait for the Red Dragon to get there. The minute Frost shows up with a whole bunch of ne'er-do-wells trying to bloodily beat their way into the Lin Kuei, you know that Grandmaster Sub-Zero locked up the good china, not because he doesn't trust anyone, but just to be sure. And that included locking down things like the egg, which means that Goro's not only going to have to survive his way through the tournament, he's going to have to retrieve this egg in some sort of heist. And you're also probably wondering now, like, wait a minute, why would Sub-Zero let Goro and Red Dragon members even fight in this tournament? And that's because there are ancient rules, which Sub-Zero is bound by. He has to allow all comers, or his clan will be dishonored. If he rejects anyone, he is essentially admitting that he doesn't think that he can beat them, or that the better Lin Kuei applicants can beat them. So he's allowing Goro and the Red Dragon to participate in this whole affair. And Grandmaster Sub-Zero identifies quickly that Frost is going to be his best hope for keeping not only Goro and the Red Dragon in check, but for keeping the egg safe. Because Frost has the same Arctican heritage as Sub-Zero, and she has the same similar power set to Sub-Zero. He's going to need to trust her to help him protect the egg. Now, Frost isn't the kind of person that people ordinarily trust, and she knows that. She's kind of painfully aware of that. So when Grandmaster Sub-Zero reaches out to her for help and trusts her, and she can sense that, that means so much to her. That is such an affirmation as she has never known in her life. So she takes that responsibility very seriously. And that means that she will fight to the death, if that's what it takes, in order to protect this egg. And that's almost what it does take, because she nearly dies in a battle with Goro. He uses a moment in the tournament of the Red Dragon causing a ruckus to steal away and try to claim the egg for himself. He's figured out where it is at this point. We're skipping ahead a little bit, but he's on his way. He encounters Frost, battles Frost. Frost is so valiant. She hangs on just long enough for Grandmaster Sub-Zero to get there and save her, but unfortunately they're too late, and Goro has obtained the egg. And what happens when Goro obtains the egg? Well, the egg fires a beam of light out at him, and he not only regrows his arms, he grows some wings and some new muscles and gets a whole bunch of new powers as he becomes the new embodiment of the Dragon King Onaga. Of course, Goro never banked on this much power, but he is glad to have it. He was just trying to grow his arms back, but now he's actually going to become the Dragon King. And although he has plenty of enemies here at the Lin Kuei Temple, he doesn't care about them half as much as he cares about his enemies in Outworld. So he and the Red Dragon are going to split. They're going to go back to Daegon, say we've got the power, and then they're going to try to march into Outworld and take over. Sub-Zero, obviously it is a great shame to lose the egg, and he does not place any of that on Frost. He puts it all on himself for not being able to prevent Goro from obtaining the egg, obtaining all this power, and becoming Onaga. I wish we could have gotten to do the power-up scene for Goro taking on the Dragon King power. I wanted to have him use like sort of fire magic from his hands to heat up the egg in a really cool, like spectacular fashion. It would have been awesome. Anyway, let's keep going. Now, Sub-Zero, obviously, it is a great shame that Goro has taken the egg and the power of Onaga, and that Sub-Zero has failed to protect it. And obviously Sub-Zero is now going to need to recruit allies to help him. So Sub-Zero would have pulled in some of the usual suspects. Raiden and Fujin are obvious ones. If Frost could be healed to join this final fight, she would have certainly come along and joined Sub-Zero. But a very important person who Raiden identifies that they're going to need in this fight is Kenshi, who knows the most about the Red Dragon, Daegon, what's going on with Goro/Onaga right now. He's not only been spying on them, but he's absorbed a lot of knowledge while being tortured even. So Raiden surmises that they need to get Kenshi. Kenshi's going to be a key to all of this. So while the rest of the heroes of Earthrealm head off to Outworld to assist Kotal Kahn and Shiva in the battle against Onaga/Goro, Sub-Zero goes on his own solo mission to infiltrate the Red Dragon headquarters and retrieve Kenshi from whatever horrible torture chamber the Red Dragon have locked him in. Sub-Zero and Kenshi then go into Outworld to join what would have been the most massive battle that we could possibly imagine and fit onto the page. And if you're wondering, like, what is Daegon up to this whole time? Why wouldn't he take all this power of the Dragon King instead of letting Goro have it? And the truth is, Daegon is after something that he sees as a much bigger prize than the realm of Outworld or anything the Dragon King would be after. He is in an eternal contest as a son of Argus and Delia to set against his brother Taven. They were both set into a slumber, and at such times they would awaken. They would battle Blaze atop the pyramid of Argus and determine the future of all realms. But in this timeline, Daegon wants to destroy Taven before Taven even wakes up. So he plans to use the power between himself and the Dragon King and the force of the Red Dragon, that they can muscle their way into Outworld, and while everyone else is distracted by Outworld. But you notice a lot of these things, that there's always there's an ulterior motive, there's a distraction involved. But while everyone else is preoccupied with this battle for Outworld between Goro and the Shokan, Kotal Kahn, and all of that, Daegon is on his own mission to destroy his brother before he wakes. And I had a really fun surprise in store for him when he got there, that he would find that his brother had already awoken and that they were destined to battle at another time. So the story would have been left as like this open thread of he went to all this trouble to reach his brother's tomb and destroy his brother, only to find him missing. And that would have been maybe a setup for MKX Series 3 or something to pay off later, but we never got there. Kenshi actually knows how to take down Onaga. If you recall from Deception, Onaga's soul had to be ripped out of the Avatar, out of Reptile, and bound to the Netherrealm. So how the heck are Kenshi and Sub-Zero going to do that? Well, Kenshi's sword was going to come into play here. Kenshi's sword has a lot of really cool properties, and we haven't really used them at all in the comics, so this would actually be the opportunity to dig a little bit deeper into Kenshi's powers and his mythology. So Kenshi's sword contains the spirits of ancestors, and that's one of the empowering facets of Kenshi's ability set, is that he's actually kind of not fighting alone, right? He's fighting with his ancestors. They're helping him. They're a part of him. They're assisting him. That's pretty amazing. He has telekinesis. He has a lot of really cool powers. So we reach this, critical pitched moment in the battle where we have Raiden, Kotal Kahn, Shiva, probably some special forces, and Sub-Zero and Kenshi all battling against Onaga / Goro. And with all of their might, they're going to wear him down a bit until Sub-Zero can expend all of his energy, and if Frost is there, she's going to expend all of her energy, and they're both going to pass out as soon as they're done because they're going to freeze Onaga. It's not going to hold for long, but it's going to hold just long enough for Kenshi to get up in there and plunge his sword into the heart of the Dragon King. At which point, some of Kenshi's ancestors, these warrior kings, will sacrifice themselves to drag Onaga down to the Netherrealm, where he will be met by Quan Chi. Now, in the aftermath of this battle, it is not all peace and love between Earthrealm and Outworld. Kotal Kahn is pretty pissed off at Sub-Zero for allowing the egg of the last great dragon to fall into the hands of Goro and unleash the Dragon King on Outworld. Kotal is pissed off at Raiden and Fujin for the same reason, and this is just sowing further seeds of distrust between Earthrealm and Outworld in ways that will help explain, or would help support and explain, Kotal Kahn's actions in MKX story mode proper. You've probably been wondering, and we know that Shiva has now fought off Goro. Queen Shiva and the Shokan are allied with Kotal Kahn, but it's an uneasy alliance even after this. Kotal Kahn is very firmly entrenched in his power. If Melina's anywhere, she's deep underground for this particular series. Scorpion and Takeda, you're probably wondering, like, we haven't heard anything about Scorpion and Takeda. What about them? Well, the plan that I hoped for is that the very final scene of MKX Series 2 would be the scene from Takeda's chapter, kind of expanding on it a little bit, where Takeda and Kenshi reunite. And the sort of secret twist I kind of wanted to add was that maybe Sub-Zero was there watching and seeing, what Hanzo and Takeda were up to as he escorted Kenshi there, but obviously didn't show himself. Not going to be very welcome among the Shirai Ryu, so that's why he didn't do that. He didn't show himself. He didn't have a confrontation. Didn't want to mess up the timeline at all with that. But I did think it would be cool if that was an indication to Sub-Zero that Scorpion or / Hanzo could be reasoned with, because he gets a glimpse of Hanzo as a mentor and a father figure to Takeda in a very difficult moment in which Takeda confronts his own father, whom he feels has abandoned him. It's a very powerful scene, and I really thought that the best way to connect MKX Series 2 into the thread of where does this all fit in the timeline and what's going on would be by having this moment, since we opened MKX Series 1 with Kenshi and Takeda on the run from the Red Dragon, that in this moment where the Red Dragon had been soundly defeated, that Kenshi could finally come back, which is why Takeda and Kenshi now have this mission to go fight the Red Dragon afterward, because as much as there has been a defeat and Kenshi's been through this battle, the war's not over. They still have to go get the Red Dragon. There's still bad actors out there, and that's what we would have ended on. We would have ended on Kenshi and Takeda and Hanzo riding off to fight the Red Dragon, while Sub-Zero and Frost kind of watch on and discuss whether or not they could ever trust the Shirai Ryu. So that's it. That is MKX Series 2. I really hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you forgive any errors or continuity things or things that conflict with Mortal Kombat 11. Please remember, I wrote this pitch in 2015 or 2016, I think. So it's been a few years, and I'm basing all of this off just a couple of paragraphs. This is off the top of my head. That's where all this has lived. There are hints of it in Shiva's towers. There are hints of it in some of the intro dialogue and Aftermath particularly. But this has all lived in my head, and I'm really glad to be able to bring it to all of you. Big thanks to History Behind the Warrior for giving me the opportunity to share this pitch with you, and I hope you enjoyed it. It's been a little fireside chat from me to you, and I hope that it gives you some closure, at least, in terms of what MKX Series 2 might have looked like as a comic book. And, someday, although I am no longer working with NetherRealm or writing anything Mortal Kombat related. It's been a great honor for me to be a part of this legacy and this mythology. All of my contributions were made with love and respect for the fans, and if you've enjoyed it, I'm so happy. And if you haven't enjoyed it, I'm so sorry. We never intend to ruin anything for anyone. We love everyone. We love every character, but choices have to be made, difficult choices have to be made, and sometimes that comes at the expense of our favorite characters even. Trust me, it's not easy making those decisions. It's painful making those decisions. And when I worked on the comic books, it was a lot easier because I didn't have to worry about the fight ladder. I didn't have to worry about how many pages there were in between animation minutes to budget with. I really just had my page count, and I could have 10 pages of action a week that I could share with all of you. And MKX Comics Season 1 was my opportunity to do that. But I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope this was fun. I hope I haven't rambled too much. I'm gonna sign off. Everyone stay safe, be well. History Behind the Warrior. Thank you. This has been MKX Comics Series 2, the untold story, the unpitched story, the unknown story, the apocryphal story, which up until now has resided in a timeline alone in my head canon. And now I hope that some of this can be a little piece of your head canon. Stay well, be safe, keep on fighting.
Like that, this covers the leftover plot threads from the Mortal Kombat X comic book series. I understand that many of you wanted a continuation to this story, and the leftover plot threads were pretty frustrating when you take into account that we didn't get a continuation for the series. So hope in some way, shape and form, but after years of waiting, that this video may have given you some form of closure as to what could have happened. Now, as Shawn has put it here, this is not tied within the main canon. What you could consider this as is a DVD extra of what could have been. So in saying that, once again, I do hope you have enjoyed this and learnt more by doing so. Massive thank you to Shawn for actually coming on here and explaining the story and ideas he had put down. I know many of us wanted closure for many years. I'm a big advocate for the comic book series. It blends two of my favourite hobbies together. So this was kind of a passion project for me and actually something I wanted to pursue and get answers for. So this being said, thank you to everyone watching, thank you to Shawn for coming on. If you wish to follow him on any form of social media, you can find him on Twitter as Kittelsen, and if you're a fan of comics and wish to see what he's doing right now, I'll have a link for his current comic book series Heart Attack down in the description below, as well as pinned to the top of the comments section, so please do click on that and check it out. The 6th issue has recently come out, so if you just so happen to see it lying around in a comic book store, please go and pick it up as it's the best way of supporting him as well as the comic book industry as a whole. Now this being said, I'll pass you on to Shawn one more time and let him share his final words and close out the video. Thanks everyone and take care.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you had fun. I had fun, and I would love to come back here and talk more with History Behind the Warrior, see more of the fans, get more of your questions and answer them. But for now, I think that's plenty of apocryphal information that I've shared today. So be well, stay safe, and I'll see you all next time.